The person couldn't endure and fell to the ground after just a short while. His will force is roughly double that of his peers, leaving him with no chance of becoming a mage, the bald old man declared with a cold detachment. The array closed, and the boy, dejected, walked out. Chatter erupted all around, but the elder silenced it with a stern quiet. The large crowd of nobles remained silent. Next, he ordered. Dennis and Linley watched the scene with interest. Interestingly, the first few participants tested all failed to qualify. The current test subject was a young girl who managed to last longer than the previous 10 combined. Oh, the elder's eyes lit up. He promptly increased the array's power further. Eventually, the girl dropped to one knee, exhausted. The bald old man nodded in satisfaction, a hint of a smile finally gracing his face. Her will force is 8 times stronger than her peers. With a mid-tier elemental affinity, she qualifies to become a mage. Ah, wonderful. The first to cheer wasn't the girl herself, but her father. Quiet, the elder said with irritation. A priest then came to lead the girl and her father over to where the academy recruiters were gathered. Many looked on with envy, knowing that becoming a mage meant gaining both status and power. As time went on, the hall became more crowded because the trials were to go on the whole day and continue for the next week. Most people weren't in a rush. By the time it was Linley's turn, the line of examinees extended out the door. Next, the bald-headed elder called again. Linley calmed his emotions as he stepped into the center of the room, with Dennis standing by him. Only a powerful mage could sense the archmage. The ordinary mages stood no chance. Linley placed his hand on the oracular sphere, which glowed with a soft light, as it began its assessment. The sphere suddenly burst out with a brilliance like the sun, casting yellow and blue lights with occasional bright red flashes, causing those nearby to squint involuntarily. Seeing the glow with an intensity that rivaled the sun, everyone in the great hall was left speechless. The bald old man trembled slightly as he glanced at the paper in his hand, which clearly stated that Linley was only 18 years old. Linley is 18 years old and possesses an exceptional affinity for earth and air primals, with a moderate affinity for fire. The bald old man's heart pounded fiercely. Typically, a mage's primal affinity was moderate, and even slightly above that was extremely uncommon. An exceptional affinity was even more incredibly rare. According to the current assessment, while others could take more than 10 hours to harness their arcane energy, Linley would be able to do it in just 1. The entire great hall erupted in astonishment. His affinity for 2 elements was truly extraordinary. This was simply too incredible. Is his connection to air elements really that remarkable? Dennis, standing beside Linley, was taken aback. Wow, I'm also proficient in air elements? Linley was stunned, and the question echoed in his mind as he looked at Dennis. Dennis looked impressed. I did say before that I could only detect earth elemental affinity. When you were channeling arcane energy, didn't you notice the air elements? Air elements? Linley was momentarily confused. The first time you guided me in using arcane energy, you told me to stay focused. I did notice some blue specks around me then, but I didn't pay much attention. Later, when I was absorbing earth elements, I was surrounded by them, and the blue specks vanished. Dennis understood the significance of Linley's newfound affinity for air elements. It was all about what was being focused on. If a mage focused on earth elements, the other elements would fade away. And that is exactly what seemed to be the case with Linley. Every time I trained or meditated after that, I found myself surrounded by earth elements, not even thinking about the air elements, Linley said, feeling a surge of joy. He understood that dual-element mages were generally more powerful than those with a single element. With the elemental affinity test complete, it was time to assess his mental strength. Linley walked confidently towards the circle where an elder of the church waited. Everyone around was eager to see how the boy would perform, especially after his brilliant showing moments earlier. Remember, when testing your willpower, hold on as long as possible, Dennis said, his tone suddenly serious. I don't know much about your wind energy yet, but with such strong natural talent, it would be a real shame if you don't learn it at the academy. Linley understood what he had to do. If he was to have a future as a mage, he had to do well in this next assessment. It would not be easy to hold on, but he had to. After all, this was the first step for him to reach all the goals he had set for himself. Please enter the circle. The bald elder rarely used the word please when addressing newcomers, but seeing how Linley had just performed, he made an exception. Even the surrounding nobles now viewed him with newfound respect. His exceptional natural affinity meant he could refine arcane energy quickly, allowing more time to train his will force, and his future achievements and abilities seemed boundless. Linley stepped into the magic circle. The circle's warm white light glowed, and then an intense pressure seemed to press down on his very being. The elder cast a fear spell, enveloping Linley in a palpable dread that seemed to press down on his very soul. Linley thought about how weak this was compared to the immense power of that obsidian drake 6 months ago, as his thoughts wandered. As time passed, the light from the magic circle grew brighter and the sense of fear intensified. Everyone in the cathedral hall held their breath, realizing that the teenager, dressed in simple attire, was destined to become a powerful wizard in the future. Does anyone know that young man? Which family does he belong to? The nobles below started whispering. They believed that if they could establish connections early with a promising young individual, they might gain a powerful friend in the future. Some nearby recruiters quickly learned Linley's identity. At that moment, the recruiters from the major magic academies, who had been lounging and chatting idly, snapped to attention. Their eyes gleamed with hunger as they rushed forward, eager to claim the most promising talents before their rivals could. Inside the magic circle, Linley stood his ground, his body rigid against the crushing force pressing down on him like an unrelenting storm. Every breath felt heavier, his lungs burning as though the very air had turned against him. His vision blurred, his head spun, but he refused to falter. I must endure. The longer I last, the greater my chances. A stronger academy means better training, unlocking my true potential. I can't give in now. His muscles trembled, veins bulging under his skin as he clenched his fists, pushing back against the suffocating weight, but the pressure was relentless, sinking into his very soul, threatening to crush him from the inside out. Then his body buckled. A gasp tore from his throat as his knee slammed onto the cold, unyielding ground. His hands shot out, pressing against the floor to stop himself from collapsing completely. His vision darkened at the edges, his breath ragged. But even as the weight threatened to break him, one thought burned in his mind: he could not fail. Everyone's gaze turned towards the bald man. The bald elder, his face glowing with excitement, declared in a loud voice, "His will force is 18 times greater than that of his peers and is rated as superior. He possesses exceptional will force and primal affinity." At this moment, several recruitment officers from various magical academies rushed in. "Greetings, Linley Wolfram. I'm from the Violet Arcanum, a prestigious magical institute. We sincerely invite you to join us. If you accept, your tuition will be fully waived and you'll receive an annual scholarship of 1,000 gold bucks. We'll also arrange for nothing but the most experienced mages to mentor you personally. Linley, I am from the Silverton Academy of Arcane Arts. We would be honored to have you join us, offering you a full scholarship and the guidance of our esteemed faculty." Seeing the enthusiastic crowd around him, Linley was momentarily taken aback by their admiration. It was impressive how quickly these recruiters had learned his name. "Excuse me, everyone. Please return to your seats." "We need to continue the assessment," the bald man said gently. He felt he could be dismissive toward ordinary people, but he remained courteous to representatives from the major magical academies. "Linley Wolfram, we at the Oakfield Institute warmly invite you to join us." A voice rang out from a distance, and as it did, the entire hall fell silent. Even the elder stopped talking. Linley turned to look. A middle-aged man in white robes approached, smiling as he spoke. "Exceptional natural affinity, superior mental fortitude, and mastery in 2 elements at an exceptional level. Linley, the Oakfield Institute would be delighted to have you. Would you be willing to join us?" Beside him, Hillman was also stunned for a moment before he immediately ran to Linley's side, his hands trembling with excitement. Linley was momentarily stunned by the offer from the Oakfield Institute, the most prestigious magical academy on the mainland. What did it mean to be accepted into the most prestigious magic school in the realm? Graduating from the Oakfield Institute meant that anyone could easily attain nobility in any kingdom, even in a standard role. The major kingdoms would formally invite exceptional graduates. In the vast land of Oakwood, the Oakfield Institute admitted only 100 students each year. 100 people a year, what were the chances of that? Everyone who entered the institute was considered a genius.
Wait, that's not the end. You've just had a free taste. Now get the full story on the Pocket FM app, link in description. Check out our next video and play